Julia Roberts asked, "Give me one name. One person whose life actually changed because of Archewell." Meghan froze. The studio went silent. The audience held its breath. Seconds passed. Meghan's lips moved, but no sound came out. Joy tried to intervene. Whoopi leaned forward. Nothing worked. Then Julia said 6 words, so calm, so quiet, that the audience almost missed them. But the cameras caught Meghan's face, the color draining, the mask slipping, the moment she realized she had no answer, and everyone watching knew it. What Julia said next made Meghan upset. What she said after that made Meghan walk off the stage. And what she said to the camera once Meghan was gone, that's what everyone's still talking about. This is the confrontation nobody saw is coming. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's get into what happened. The View studio had its usual chaotic energy. 5 hosts, a live audience, the frenetic pace of daytime television. Today's couch featured an unusual pairing. Julia Roberts, promoting her acclaimed film After the Hunt, and Meghan Markle, discussing her foundation work. The guests arrived separately. Julia first, breezing in with her signature warmth, hugging crew members, making everyone laugh. She had that rare quality of genuine presence. When Julia Roberts was in a room, you felt it. Meghan arrived 15 minutes later with a more substantial entourage. She walked onto the set with controlled precision, acknowledged Julia with a brief smile, settled into her position on the couch with careful attention to angles. "Ladies, welcome to The View," Whoopi began as cameras rolled. The audience cheered. The energy felt electric. 2 powerful women. 1 iconic couch. Nobody knew what was coming. "Julia, let's start with you. After the Hunt is getting incredible reviews. Tell us about working with Luca Guadagnino." Julia's face lit up with genuine enthusiasm. Luca is a force of nature. He works faster than anyone I've ever collaborated with. This was the quickest I've ever gone from reading a script to being on set in my entire career. And the character, she's quite different from your usual roles. Completely different from my natural instincts, almost opposite to who I am as a person. That's what makes it exciting after 35 years, finding characters that challenge everything comfortable. Sunny leaned in. "Speaking of challenging, Meghan, your foundation work challenges a lot of conventional thinking. Tell us about Archewell's current projects." Meghan straightened slightly. "We're focused on creating systemic change through strategic partnerships, mental health awareness, digital safety, community building across multiple platforms." Julia listened intently, her expression neutral but watchful. "What outcomes have you achieved specifically?" Sunny pressed. "We've raised significant awareness." "Awareness toward what specific end?" "Toward shifting cultural conversations around issues that matter." Julia tilted her head almost imperceptibly. The gesture was so subtle that only those watching closely would have noticed. "Julia, you've been involved in philanthropy for decades," Joy said. "UNICEF, various children's causes. How do you approach that work?" "Quietly, mostly," Julia smiled. "I found that the most effective charitable work happens away from cameras. When you make it about publicity, it becomes performance. When you make it about outcomes, it becomes change." "But visibility matters," Meghan interjected. "Platform creates opportunity." Julia turned to face her directly. "Platform creates attention. Opportunity requires follow-through. Those are different things." "I follow through extensively." "I'm sure you believe you do, but I've been in this industry long enough to recognize the difference between doing work and talking about doing work." Whoopi shifted in her seat. "Ladies, I think—" "What exactly are you implying?" Meghan's voice had cooled. "I'm not implying anything. I'm observing. I've watched your interviews, the foundation discussions. There's a lot of language about awareness and partnerships and systemic change. Very little about measurable outcomes. Outcomes take time. Outcomes happen when you prioritize them. I've worked with organizations that feed children, build schools, provide medical care. They can tell you exactly how many lives they've touched. Numbers, names, stories. What are yours? The studio had gone quiet. The audience sensed the shift before they fully understood it. My work is different from traditional charity, Meghan said stiffly. Different how? You raise money, you spend money. The question is what changes because of it. That's not traditional versus non-traditional. That's basic accountability. Joy attempted intervention. I think what Meghan's getting at is, I can speak for myself, Meghan interrupted sharply. Julia's eyebrows rose slightly. Then speak. Tell me one specific person whose life is measurably better because of Archewell. Not aware of issues. Actually better. One name, one story. Silence stretched. Meghan's face had gone red. We respect privacy. That's not what I asked. Charities that change lives can share impact stories without violating privacy. A single mother in Nevada now has stable housing because of our program. A veteran accessed mental health treatment through our initiative. Something concrete, something real. Our impact is real. Then describe it, specifically, without using the words awareness, partnership, or systemic. Meghan opened her mouth, closed it. The pause extended painfully. Whoopi stepped in. Let's shift direction. Meghan, the lifestyle brand, as ever, that's been doing well, hasn't it? We're taking the brand independent, building something sustainable. Julia smiled, that famous, warm smile that somehow carried an edge. Independent by choice or by necessity? Because my understanding is Netflix declined to continue the partnership. Business relationships evolve. They do. Sometimes they evolve because one party outgrows the other. Sometimes they evolve because the product doesn't perform. Which was this? Sarah attempted to mediate. Julia, you've navigated Hollywood partnerships for 35 years. Any advice for... My advice would be to stop positioning necessity as strategy. Julia's voice remained perfectly pleasant. When something ends because it wasn't working, say so. Own it. The constant reframing of failures as strategic pivots insults people's intelligence. Meghan's posture had gone rigid. I haven't failed at anything. Haven't you? The Netflix show wasn't renewed. The Spotify deal ended. Staff have departed at remarkable rates. At some point, patterns become evidence. Those departures were mutual decisions. Mutual decisions that consistently favor the other party leaving. That's not mutual. That's environment. People don't flee environments they want to be in. You don't know anything about my working environment, Meghan said, her voice rising. I know what's publicly reported. Multiple communications directors, rapid staff turnover, consistent anonymous accounts of difficult conditions. Either everyone's lying or something's actually happening. Joy leaned forward. Julia, maybe we should... I'm simply asking questions. Questions that get asked about every public figure. The defensiveness is notable. People confident in their work welcome inquiry. Meghan stood up partially, then caught herself. This is becoming hostile. This is becoming honest. There's a significant difference. I've spent 35 years in an industry that scrutinizes everything. I faced questions about my marriages, my choices, my box office failures. I've answered them. That's what public life requires. I've answered plenty. You've deflected plenty. Answers provide information. Deflections provide cover. I've watched your interviews. The pattern is consistent. Warmth when topics are controlled, walls when they're not. Whoopi stood up. We need to take a commercial. We don't have one scheduled, the floor director murmured. Then schedule one. During the unplanned break, the tension on the couch was palpable. Joy attempted to smooth things over. Julia, maybe we could find common ground? I'm not looking for conflict. I'm looking for substance. Every question I've asked is legitimate. The reaction tells you more than the answers would have. Meghan sat rigid, her publicist whispering urgently from off camera. When they returned, Whoopi attempted a reset. We're talking about two remarkable women with different approaches to public life. Different approaches to honesty, Julia corrected gently. I've made mistakes publicly, admitted them, learned from them. That's how growth works. What I'm seeing here is someone who's positioned herself as authentic while being completely performed. I'm not performed, you're entirely performed. Every answer is calibrated, every gesture is managed, every topic that might reveal something genuine gets blocked. That's not authenticity, that's brand management masquerading as personality. Meghan's voice went cold. You've had a privileged career. Not everyone has your advantages. Julia actually laughed. Privileged? I grew up poor in Georgia. I've been divorced. I'd had public failures. I've been written off and written back. Nothing was handed to me. You had Hollywood. I had talent and work ethic. Those aren't handed. They're developed. And I've never once blamed my failures on external forces. When something didn't work, I asked why. You seem to ask who to blame. You're attacking me because I threaten you, Meghan said suddenly. The studio went silent. Julia's expression shifted to something like disbelief. Threaten me? With what, exactly? With a different model of celebrity, one that's about purpose rather than entertainment. Julia's smile widened, not warm this time, something sharper. Your purpose appears to be talking about purpose. That's circular. Purpose requires outcomes. What have you actually built? Not talked about building. Built. Arkowell is an organization that produces statements and partnerships. What physical thing exists because of it? What person can point to Arkowell and say, my life is better? After 4 years, there should be something. Impact takes time. Impact takes action. Time just passes. I've been doing this long enough to know the difference between organizations that accomplish things and organizations that exist to employ their founders. Which is Arkowell. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the couch. I won't sit here and be insulted by someone who doesn't understand my work. Julia shrugged elegantly. Then leave. But know that leaving is its own answer. People who can defend their work, stay and defend it. People who can't, run away. Meghan stood up fully. This was supposed to be a supportive environment. Supportive doesn't mean uncritical. Supportive means honest. I've been honest with you. More honest than most interviewers apparently manage. The discomfort you're feeling isn't my hostility. It's your exposure. Joy rose from her seat. Meghan, please. She's been attacking me since I sat down. Julia shook her head slowly. I asked about your foundation's impact. I asked about your business trajectory. I asked why staff keeps leaving. Those are questions, not attacks. Your inability to answer them without defensiveness is information, not about me, about you. Meghan walked toward the edge of the stage. You've shown who you really are today. Julia nodded. I have. Someone who asks direct questions and expects direct answers. Someone who's spent 35 years distinguishing substance from performance. I know which one I saw today. So does everyone watching. Meghan left. The studio door closed behind her. The remaining hosts sat in stunned silence. The audience didn't know whether to react. Julia turned to face the camera with her trademark composure. Well, that was unexpected. Whoopi found her voice. Julia, that was intense. It was honest. I have tremendous respect for people who do real charitable work. I've seen it up close. People who sacrifice, who serve, who make measurable differences in lives. What I witnessed today was something else. Joy leaned in. You seem to have strong feelings about this. I have strong feelings about authenticity, about the difference between doing and performing. I've watched the Meghan Markle media tour for years now. The Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, the endless statements about wellness and purpose. And I kept waiting for the substance, for the evidence, for something beyond words. She paused. It never came. Just more words about words. More awareness about awareness. Meanwhile, actual charities struggle for funding, while she monetizes the aesthetics of activism without the outcomes. Sunny spoke carefully. Some would say you were hard on her. I asked questions any donor would ask. What does my money accomplish? What changes because of this organization? Basic accountability questions. Her inability to answer them, that's not my hardness. That's her emptiness. Sarah tried a different angle. You've known each other briefly before today. We met once. She wanted a photo that would associate her brand with my credibility. I declined. Some things shouldn't be for sale. The audience murmured. Julia's directness was unprecedented for a morning show appearance. The thing is, Julia continued, I've been in rooms with genuine advocates, people who've dedicated their lives to causes. They light up when you ask about their work. They have stories, they have numbers, they have evidence of impact. Meghan had talking points and defensiveness. That tells you everything. Whoopi nodded slowly. You've given us a lot to think about. I've asked questions that should have been asked years ago. The fact that they weren't, that's a failure of journalism, not my aggression. She's been protected by sympathetic interviewers for too long. Eventually, someone has to note that the emperor has no clothes. The footage aired that morning. ABC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the collision between Hollywood substance and royal performance. I found that the most effective charitable work happens away from cameras. Tell me one specific person whose life is measurably better because of Archewell. Independent by choice or by necessity? You're entirely performed. Every answer is calibrated. Leaving is its own answer. People who can defend their work stay and defend it. Meghan's team released a statement calling the appearance a coordinated attack by an actress protecting industry interests, conducted in an environment that was supposed to be welcoming. Julia responded through her publicist with characteristic brevity. I asked about charitable outcomes and business decisions, questions any journalist should ask. The attack she experienced was accountability. If accountability feels like attack, perhaps examine what's being defended. The View addressed it the following day. Whoopi was direct. Yesterday got heated. Julia Roberts asked tough questions. Meghan Markle couldn't answer them. That's the story. Not ambush, examination. Julia's been doing this for 35 years. She knows the difference between people who work and people who perform working. She called it as she saw it. Joy added, I tried to intervene, multiple times, but Julia's questions were legitimate, every one of them. The fact that they couldn't be answered, that's not Julia's problem. That's Meghan's. For Julia Roberts, the encounter became an unexpected chapter in a legendary career. Proof that America's sweetheart could deliver uncomfortable truths when circumstances demanded. For Meghan Markle, it was devastating. She'd walked into The View expecting the softball treatment she usually received, and encountered something unprecedented. A peer who wouldn't accept performance as substance. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. The contrast between Julia, 35 years of genuine achievement, comfortable in her own skin, unafraid of hard questions, and Meghan, defensive, calibrated, unable to name a single concrete impact of her work, was impossible to ignore. Julia had offered conversation. Meghan had experienced interrogation. The difference was entirely in perception. One woman had built a career on actual accomplishment. The other had built a brand on the aesthetics of accomplishment. When they shared a couch, only one could survive the comparison. And in that survival, in Julia's effortless comfort versus Meghan's desperate defense, everything anyone needed to know about the gap between substance and performance became clear. Some people do the work. Others talk about doing the work. Eventually, someone notices which is which. America's sweetheart versus the Duchess. It wasn't even close. What do you think? If you want more content that separates substance from performance, subscribe. This is where the real conversations happen. Share this with someone. They need to see what really happened. More truth, more accountability, more of what everyone else is afraid to say. Stay with us.